Pascal, and thank you, Madame Gallina. I think I would like to start with one assurance. I think we did the right thing. We did it together. Better approach than to do it by different states where the muscles are bigger. But we have with logistics, and I'm coming back to that. And we have a psychological challenge. People have been haunted by the virus for almost a year. Then when we get the news about the vaccines, and people start to cling to a hope of a fast remedy, and when that remedy doesn't come fast enough, then people become impatient, and that in turn will create a lot of problems for us. And sometimes we as politicians are inclined to be to go in the safe gratulation way, and therefore we can't exclude that some of the information we gave out as politicians wasn't sort of very much helpful. But I think we need more information about the delivery and the logistics, because the transparency about the whole process from the contracts to the delivery to the private citizens is very important. So I would be happy if you could give us a picture of the logistic the face and how easy information to be able to escape psychology I spoke in the beginning. Thank you.
Sandra.
Thank you very much. And again, many of this European spirit, there may have some glitches in this European spirit, I can assure you. What will save us is not access the vaccination, and I realize people patient, because living is not really good, so everybody would like to have the thing that members in the world are devising this. On the list, I can see in a sense from the company a table which says rather a mathematical distribution is the way they should go member states. I am exhorting at the steering committee to test its problems. We had aware of two relatively minor issues. Deliveries were scheduled for one day, that the before or the afterwards. Apart from this, we hear the deliveries of that medical thing. I say, the relationship between the AI will be delivered, So we hope that these deliveries are as expected, but I don't get from member states upon these three cases that apparently the delivery coming there. So the logistics, I can add one element. We know, because we saw the order forms of the member states, that some member states have opted for one hub and then they distribute themselves. Other member states have opted for different hubs, meaning that by the different hubs. With that, the delivery should have started, because already indeed started. We did not hear a problem yesterday, but it's really the beginning deliveries. We got that also in the order forms one hub and distribution center. And it's all about the logistics.
Thank you. We move to Heidi and Silvia Saldone.
Grazie Presidente, dottoressa Gallina. La gestione del piano vaccinale in Europa ha mostrato alcune lacune proprio in queste prime settimane. I cittadini europei hanno al momento a disposizione molti meno vaccini di quanti ne avrebbero potuti avere. La Commissione europea ha probabilmente efficacia burocratica. Sono stati ordinati vaccini e il dibattito sui prezzi è andato avanti oggettivamente per troppo. Qualcuno accusa la Commissione per aspettare troppo il vaccino che non era disponibile. Per in qualche modo non c'è gli ordini del vaccino. Grandi hanno suscitato poi gli appalti tra Germania e per il popolo tedesco altri 30 milioni di dosi di vaccini. Però il Commissario europeo sta considerando di chiedere i vaccini a Israele, che alcuni paesi europei hanno comprato in autonomia, hanno fare di Pfizer fuori dal quadro europeo. Insomma, ognuno ha fatto per conto suo come in pandemia. Com'è possibile che la Commissione non prenda una azione da lei italiana per un titolo nel nostro paese? La Commissione in qualche momento può in qualche modo esortare gli Stati membri a utilizzare i medici di famiglia la campagna di vaccinazione? È ovvio che l'utilizzo dei medici di famiglia sarebbe molto utile per portare avanti in maniera la campagna vaccinale e quindi tutto il vaccino. Grazie.
Thank you, thankful because what I've been learning. So on the last strategy, saying the following measures we have issued on October. So I must say I'm looking at the member states. collect the data and we will be confirmed about this. About this, I may say I'm not sure I understand this statement. First of all, Sanofi was the second contract we signed, and Sanofi is a contract only. So may I say we have firm quantities in AstraZeneca, first contract that we signed, 300 million plus 100 million options. Then we have the only options, so I'm not so sure that the element of immediate quantities. Then say that when we were discussing with members, they were the ones who chose I would say, the portfolio, to have ability to the winning candidate, that there were no vaccines, not possible. We started agreement means advanced, and in a sense we have been mRNAs when everybody knew mRNAs. We never had a vaccine that was an mRNA before. So we have three mRNAs. We are that two of them in the portfolio turned out successful, and it's because we bought 100 million doses BioNTech when the US bought many more options, but the options are difficult to activate as we saw. So we have not even the options activated on the 29th of December. You saw we came out, the president have vaccines and million people calculate because it's 760 million. Adding the BioNTech possible vaccines that we are going for, plus 160 of Moderna. So I may say this is a thing that puzzles me. Finally, on the point of the parallel contracts, I cannot but repeat what President von der Leyen said. Parallel contracts are not possible. You read Article 7 of the agreement. So whatever happens, we have not been notified, and I say we have good intelligence about this. So this thing. Finally, a word on the deliveries. We knew that the deliveries would be scarce in the beginning, and this is why we asked the member states to identify the priority groups. May I say that even the bilateral agreements you are alluding to would have had no impact if ever they were concluded on solving the problem of the numbers. I mean, 30 million with 2 doses, that's 15 million. So let me say to you, let's be constructive. We have the vaccines, they are coming. Of course, we need to give them to the ones who are vulnerable at first, and the member states will choose. But on this issue of the quantities, really, this is not a polemic I will want to entertain.
Thank you for recalling facts. Basek for the Greens.
Thank you very much. Good morning, and thank you very much, and good morning also, Sandro Gallina. I think you also, with some amusement, heard the criticism of the idea that there was too much nationalism. I would say that was always what ID wanted, isn't it? But okay, I think what it shows is exactly what we have been pushing for a very long while, and that is transparency. That is of utmost crucial here. If we are transparent, we are opening up possibility nationalistic. That's exactly what's going on. So I think that's putting into the correct it's really transparency to those correct. More time available for because it's only for this. These are work from home, and they consider it cannot and the anymore. And we need more time. I hope and so expect that is. But there always more time on decision making. On my point, was it true the news that was cited? It was also part of it linked towards methodology of Messenger because more complicated method with very possibility than another. And we did commission to went this release for the country already earlier on that the games criminal bands all countries Germany are putting have welcomed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sandro.
For the words of Great thankful for your constant campaign about transparency. You know, this is important transparency, and hope the fact that one sector, I would say, you can see what contracts contain. On the reading, start, perhaps not an Excel that contains, but we will be out of processes only and that would not be very, very sensible. So let me say, touching on a very good factual issue. When is it that member states realize that mRNAs, well, may I say when the lottery ticket came out, but let me also bring you to the purpose of the portfolio. We never, ever decided not to have quantities of any of the vaccines. If you look at vaccines, we have them portfolio with the different, you will see so we have 300 million. I'm talking about the options. We can make enough with options, but this happens only if you're a big, as we have seen. We are Europe. The companies like to have Europe. So it's very important for them. In the end, the firm quantities were 300. Then we went into Sanofi, which is 300 million options, as I repeat, meaning that they can be activated. Then we bought, I would say, Johnson & Johnson. Here, the contract is about regimens, meaning that we have 200 people, 200 million people that can be covered. So if it is 2 jabs, is 400 million doses. If it is 1 jab, it's 200 million doses. There is also 200 million options for this contract. So the member states were not very economical with the doses. May I say to you, it's obvious that for none of the vaccines, they were immediately buying the quantities for the whole of the population, even though I may say that with 600 million of BioNTech, which is the way we're going now, they're covering quite a huge number. Theoretically, we can cover 300 million people with this vaccine. So we then, had the other vaccine that we negotiated, Moderna, which is 80 million plus 80 million, but we have activated already the options, so it's 160 million. So just you were right in saying mRNAs were not known, but the wisdom of the portfolio was that the Commission was putting the ESI money and we would have it. Then if member states would buy it, it all depended on things like what happened with AstraZeneca yesterday, that they the member states come and contract have to be able to offer all the if the company agrees, so that you see happening.
Thank you, Isa and Alexander Vondra.
Smith said you're supporting how to avoid vaccine nationalism. We want to do the people at home if they see how it goes forward with the Gulf States or UK. So I have Suez first. So my is because the approach is compulsory. So whether the Commission will be considering the infringement proceeding with those extra purchases. Secondly, we certainly appreciate Friday's announcement that the Commission will double the existing Pfizer-BioNTech order. But the question is whether this is not an admission to respond to the claim that the Commission has preferred the experimental shots, price debates, or even a political balancing, as in the case of French Sanofi, instead of securing sufficient supplies of vaccine that have received the market approval. And last and thirdly, my question is about Novavax, where we are with the process. This is being partially developed in my country, and we can have the moment in Germany,
Thank you, Honourable. Now, let me start with the final. We have procedure on the 17th, so we're going ahead and hope to be buying those also, and once we end the procedure from different portfolio. With Novavax, the similar fee. Now, we would say the members about this, that was a you that issue when we started, we want to Friday there on the vaccine was guiding was the same advice, and the members that have been scientists that have been telling this is a plausible, would say, company that can vaccine this. We know they are listen to you. That's a message where no vaccines world. So how we not have? I would say no. We see that. The enemy you to have, say, but also the rest of the world to have access, because with the ESI money, we invest in the new production capacities that, we would not have had this without the ESI money. The way is going for further capacity, but, this first money was crucial to have now. I would like to add that we also joint procurement and procurement in we have of oils that are useful for the vaccination, from, I would say, diluents to the syringes to all that is needed, because we believe that what is important is that the quantities that will be arriving now are not wasted, are used by the member states, are used to the full. And, you know, we have been asking the members, they have the logistics, they have the trained personnel, they have constant confirmed, and I see from what is happening that they have it to some faster, others watching us. We are, I say, currently, so I'm that all the member states doing the best way possible, of course. So I'm confident that the beginnings, we are going ahead well.
Yeah. Thank you. So we to the last Silvia Modi, the last name.
Ms. Mudig, President?
Can you now? I'm sorry that. Thank you, Pascal. Madam Gallina, being available for this. We can hear and read all of. So, of course, the most important thing is these vaccines and transparency. And from there, we come to the psychological effect. To trust the vaccine, trust the whole procurement measure, and trust that this is done in a fair way. So, transparency is key to that. For and to room this correct. Happy to hear that it was last week, only this week, so that it that safe and that there are no bilateral agreements, but if there were, will those orders come after the EU's order from the joint procurements? And lastly, about the AstraZeneca, is the estimate still stands that there would be possibility to have an approval in the end of this month? Where are we with those dates? Because the pressure in the member states is so high that we can find ourselves in a situation where member states make emergency approvals before the agency is giving its approval, and I don't think that is the best possible way. And then the biggest question, is there an estimate? When will we have physically enough vaccines in the European Union for all the Europeans?
Thank you. Thank you, Silvia. Thank you. Sandra, for your answer.
Yes, on the last point, I definitely can tell you that in Q2, we will be having all the vaccines that we want. So it's already there that we will have the possibility to go on. Obviously, Q3, there will be more. The issue is that you need to choose the priority groups. So this is why it will be, my view, important that member states do not waste the doses, but also choose the right priority groups. Now, on the bilateral deals, I'm also very confused, and I can tell you that with the companies, they have confirmed to us that our doses come first, because our doses are booked. As I told you, the name of the member state is on the vial almost, if you understand the metaphor. There are no spare vials that somebody can buy in a bilateral deal now. These either you did an advanced purchase agreement last year, like we did, or now it's a bit too late to go around buying doses. So I can confirm to you that our vials will come first, and this is very important. On AstraZeneca, right, you say 29th of January might be the authorization is given. This process, because we don't say EMA needs to identify and EMA needs to assess. EMA from the Zen to this being public, this is good. You will also be able to clear. I think that was also somewhat alluded to the need for those data to be available. They will be available. European, very, very minor things that the company has decided to take away, and you will see it's really not going to impinge on the visibility of the contract. And we are very grateful also to the company CureVac that will give that with the contract. Can I make it? I think the approval will be take away from information that in all liability provisions kick in. So let me say the EMA for a day, so that I must after future will arrive so that all those doses. Thank you.
Officially 10 minutes, science not so question I have on my list. I'm very sorry I have to restrict the catch the eye to 7 per group. It's not following the don't rule. I'm sorry for the PS, otherwise there will be no more questions from ID, Greens, FTCR and Dutch, and I think it's fairer to have 1 per group. Let's start with EPP and as the chair of the Health Group.
Sobre todo, muchas gracias por el trabajo que se está haciendo desde la Comisión. La primera, la Comisión un marco comisión, la forma para hacer un seguimiento de las estrategias nacionales de vacunación. Quería preguntar si esta iniciativa ha avanzado y en qué he visto en sanidad desde necesidad ocular ceras dosis en el sentido, pero no he encontrado ninguna información de fuentes oficiales de la Unión Europea. ¿Podría aclarirnos si hay vacunas que necesiten ceras dosis a 1 año? Nada más.
Thank you. Thank you. Sticking one maxim. Saradas for SND, the other co-chair of Health Working Group.
Thank you, Chair. My question has to do with how is the Commission following up with the deployment of vaccines and following up the whole process and identifying errors, and specifically with the distribution of vaccines. I come from an outermost region. There has been some delays in receiving the first batch of BioNTech vaccines, and if this is something that has been identified as a problem and what has been the solutions, and if the Commission is working with member states and also with the companies to facilitate the process. And secondly, very fast, accessibility to vaccine contracts. You keep repeating that we will have access to all contracts, but when will this happen? Are we only waiting for the companies to provide us that access? Thank you.
Thank you. For Renew, Véronique Riel-Lenoir.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Merci, Madame la Directrice, d'avoir si bien défendu cet esprit pro-européen et la lutte contre les nationalismes vaccinaux. Je n'y reviendrai pas, mais ça fait vraiment du bien à entendre. En 1 minute, une question très technique qui est en train de se poser en France et j'imagine dans d'autres pays européens. Parmi les populations prioritaires et vulnérables se trouvent les patients en cours de traitement pour un cancer, qui sont à la fois fragilisés par chimiothérapie, du virus, à la fois réactifs sur le plan de la réponse immunitaire qu'ils sont capables d'apporter. Est-ce que vous imaginez que la Commission européenne pourrait faire des recommandations très spécifiques pour ce type de patients, également pour les femmes enceintes chez lesquelles la question se pose? Merci pour tous vos travaux, chère Sandra.
Thank you. For ID, Vincenzo Sofo.
Sì, buongiorno dottoressa Gallina. Allora, 3 domande molto veloci su 3 questioni molto sentite. Allora, la prima riguarda le limitazioni alla libertà che alcuni paesi, vedasi la Francia, stanno cercando di adottare. Ecco, noi e voi, diciamo, come Commissione avete intenzione di stigmatizzare o incentivare questi, diciamo, obblighi vaccinali di fatto? La seconda riguarda invece gli effetti collaterali che stanno emergendo quotidianamente sul vaccino Pfizer e volevo capire se avete un monitoraggio e se non ritenete opportuno sospendere momentaneamente o rallentare la distribuzione di questo vaccino e invece avviare un'immediata inchiesta di approfondimento. E la terza invece tipicamente italiana riguarda le liberatorie che le aziende sanitarie fanno firmare ai vaccinandi e queste liberatori dal vostro punto di vista costituiscono delle vere e proprie liberatori di, diciamo, di scarico di responsabilità delle aziende sui cittadini? Grazie.
Thank you. For the Greens, Michel Rivasi.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. D'abord, je me réjouis, moi, que la Commission ait passé ces contrats, parce que ça permet justement de lutter contre le nationalisme. Mais moi, je suis surprise que CureVac ait accepté de donner ces contrats, alors que la Commission aurait pu pousser à ce que l'ensemble des entreprises, une fois que les contrats avaient été signés, donnent ces informations. Pourquoi ? Parce que vous voyez qu'en ce moment, il y a une espèce de lutte entre les États pour savoir combien les États ont reçu des doses. Ça devrait être une information publique. Et la Commission devrait donner cette information pour dire voilà ce qu'on a livré dans chaque État. D'où l'importance de la transparence. Je voulais savoir, au niveau du prix des vaccins, quelle est la position de la Commission sur l'intervention de la secrétaire au budget qui nous a enfin, par rapport à un tweet, donné l'information du prix des vaccins. On s'est aperçu que les
Merci
vaccins
Michel.
ARN...
Merci. Désolé, je suis obligé de couper à 1 minute. For the left, Madame Kanieczna.
Yes, hello everybody, good morning from my side. Didn't tell you my opinion on the condition for reading of the contract. I consider this condition even worse than we had last term with the TTIP, so sorry, but it's true. It's apparently up to the companies whether they offer this very limited possibility to MEPs. Let's be honest, here, CureVac, the contract is not crucial for us now. For us, it's the most crucial to see the contract of Pfizer on the first place and the Moderna on the second place. The rest of contracts are now just hypothetically for us. Secondly, this option is only for MEPs, not even for the staff. This is stricter than with the TTIP. I asking why. And last but not least, it's the conditional regime. You cannot take a picture, you cannot take a note, which means that you cannot say anything to public. It means that there still won't be public control. So what is the point of even see this contract? I think that we have to speak about the contracts with the public and give them opportunity to see that everything is okay. Would this help something? How do we give people trust? Thank you very much.
Thank you. For ECR, and sorry for the reverse order, Anna Zaliuska.
Dzień dobry, witam serdecznie. Bardzo się cieszę, że dzisiaj rozmawiamy, natomiast myślę, że powinniśmy zastanowić się nad długą dyskusją i nad stałym monitoringiem tego, w jaki sposób przebiega zakup szczepionek i również same szczepienia. Myślę, że trzeba zwrócić uwagę i o to zapytać panią komisarz i prosić, żeby miała na to baczenie na 3 kwestie. Po pierwsze, na tempo. Europejczycy mówią, że tempo jest absolutnie niewystarczające. Z zazdrością patrzą na Izrael i Wielką Brytanię. Proszę powiedzieć, z czego wynika takie słabe tempo? Po drugie, Europejczycy mówią, że potrzebują przejrzystości. Nie tylko jeżeli chodzi o umowy i ich treść, ale również zapisy Komisji Europejskiej, która pokazuje, że walczy z nacjonalizmami szczepionkowymi, ale również to, czego nie usłyszeliśmy, chce zobaczyć, jak wyglądają terminy, które szczepionki już są w procedurze, kiedy spodziewane są zakończenia tychże procedur. I na koniec Europejczycy chcą konsekwencji.
Thank you. Sorry for that. And the last 2 questions from EPP and SND in order to have the balance among the groups. For EPP, Hildegard Bentele.
Ja, ganz herzlichen Dank. Ich möchte zurückkommen auf die Frage, dass wir möglichst viele
Shall we move to somebody else? Yes? Okay, so we move to... No, she's back.
Mrs. Bentele, please press on the speak button only once. Thank you.
Okay, so we move to SND and Timo Volken.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and vielen Dank, Frau Gallina, dass Sie heute unserem Ausschuss wieder Frage und Antwort stehen. Denn eins ist klar, von einer schnellen gemeinsamen europäischen Impfung hängt ab, ob wir diese Pandemie gemeinsam besiegen können. Ich habe ein paar Fragen. Warum hat die Europäische Kommission zusammen mit dem Lenkungsausschuss nicht von allen potenziellen Herstellern, die im Sommer 2020 an Impfstoffen gearbeitet haben, ausreichende Mengen für alle EU-Bürgerinnen und Bürger bestellt, damit ab der ersten Zulassung ausreichend Impfdosen verfügbar sind? War der Lenkungsausschuss dafür oder dagegen? Stimmt es, dass BioNTech 400 bis 500 Millionen Dosen und Moderna 300 Millionen Dosen angeboten haben? Hat sich der Lenkungsausschuss dagegen ausgesprochen, diese zu kaufen? Wann werden die zusätzlichen 300 Millionen BioNTech-Dosen unterschrieben? Wie lange haben die Verhandlungen darüber gedauert? Und eine letzte Frage. Waren die 2,7 Milliarden, die die Mitgliedstaaten zur Verfügung gestellt haben, zu wenig? Hätten wir nicht mehr gebraucht, um ein scharfes Schwert im Kampf gegen die Pandemie zu haben? Und werden Sie in Zukunft das Europäische Parlament intensiver beteiligen und transparenter beteiligen? Vielen Dank.
Thank you very much. And so we try again, Hildegard Benteler.
Ja, vielen Dank. Können Sie mich jetzt hören? Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Ich möchte auf das Thema zurückkommen, dass wir möglichst viele Menschen impfen müssen, und Experten sprechen von einer Durchimpfungsrate von 60 bis 70%, damit wir überhaupt gesundheitliche Sicherheit wiederherstellen. Alle wollen BioNTech haben. BioNTech ist sehr effektiv, aber eben auch ein neuer Wirkstoff. Und wir haben gesehen in Deutschland, dass bei den wichtigen Gruppen, dem Krankenhauspersonal und dem Pflegepersonal, es doch große Vorbehalte und Bedenken gibt. Deshalb meine Frage an die Kommission: Was kann die Kommission, die ja die Impfstoffe zugelassen hat, noch tun, um aufzuklären darüber, dass dieser Impfstoff sicher ist und dass viele Bedenken auch nicht gerechtfertigt sind, sodass wir eben auch mehr Menschen, dass wir die Impfbereitschaft eben auch steigern können, damit wir eben schnell diese hohe Impfrate dann eben auch erreichen und nicht irgendwo bei 40 oder 50% landen. Dankeschön.
Thank you. So, Sandra, the floor is yours for your conclusion and answers.
Thank you. And if there is still another question, let me say I will take the responsibility of managing my time, because I think it's important I stay with you. Cannot stay for long, but if there are further questions, I don't want anybody to feel completely spurned. So I will reply to the questions without mentioning, I would say, the names of the honourable members, but I would like to thank explicitly Madame Trillet-Lenoir, and I would say why, because she really gives me this impression that Europe counts, and it's very important. And so I want to reiterate that this has been a united effort, and this is a united effort that has gotten us the doses that, as a single country, big as that country can be, you would never have received. Let me say that there is a clear element. The candidates that were winning candidates were mRNAs, in the sense that they got the authorization, it's proven to be safe. But the member states going alone at the beginning, they signed the contract with AstraZeneca, which was the front runner. This should tell you a lot about the beauty of this European process of buying a portfolio, risking money, and having the possibility to have the winners, just because we, the member states, decided that it was important to have a very varied portfolio. A member state would not have done that. So let me say, these are all very important elements. So can I go a bit with the answers so that you can have a view of where we are? Now, the ECDC is setting up a new model, which is called the TESI system. This is a system that we have, and member states are asked to report the progress on vaccination twice a week. It will be operational, I suspect, from next week. So we will have numbers on the vaccinations, and this is really a very important point. This was the first question, and we will be following up on that and monitoring that. Now, on the third doses, this is the first time I hear about it, so I have no idea what this refers to. We only know about vaccines that will require 2 doses. Now, it is another discussion, the one that concerns the fact that there may be vaccines that have an immunogenicity that is not lasting, and therefore there may need to be another doses in the future, but in that case you will only need 1 dose. So let me say to you, Safety was the thing on which we would not compromise. EMA had to have very clear data on safety. Immunogenicity requires more time to be assessed. Now, on the deployment of vaccines, and I would say the outermost regions or other parties that, or other parts of the countries that are very far. Here, it's just a question of logistics. May I clarify that, we as Commission, we have delivered the negotiations, but fortunately or unfortunately, the element of the contract for the logistics, the order form, the quantities is between the member state and the company. So I heard about this problem. I will inquire. We have not received, apart from 3 instances, any complaints about the deliveries. So I hope that this will also be clarified. Now, on the issue of the people that can be vaccinated, a huge issue that Madame Trillet-Lenoir raised, Honorable Trillet-Lenoir. So the priority groups that were listed in the communication of 15th of October of the Commission, this communication said that there were certain people that were, important and was recommended to have the vaccination. We did not rank those people. We did not rank them. So it is a bit up to the member states to identify then the priority group, and perhaps they can include in this priority grouping cancer patients. So this is extremely important that you realize that there is this possibility. For Pfizer and BioNTech, if you read the EPAR, it says something on the immunocompromised people. So this is also replying to the final question that I have received. There are limited data on immunocompromised people. These are people with, I would say, weakened immune systems, but immunocompromised people may not respond as well to the vaccine, but this is not to say that it is not safe. They don't get the immunogenicity, but it's not that it is not safe. We, I would say, still have listed them in the communication of the Commission as groups that can be vaccinated, as they are at higher risk from COVID, so it's important that you realize that there is this possibility. May I say that all this issue of the priority groups is very important, and I think it's also political. So the voice of the European Parliament should be heard on this. We as Commission, as I said, we have this communication. There are many groups that are listed there, but we did not rank them. I would say, to the other questions that concern limitations of freedom, may I say that the Commission is not advocating mandatory vaccination. We don't consider that is, I would say, an approach that is justified, but this is again a matter for member states. You can read our recommendations in that respect. We are definitely monitoring any case of adverse effect that is reported. At the moment, there was only one from Pfizer, and apparently after an analysis, it was clear that this was not linked to the vaccine. So let me say to you, mRNAs, they are vaccines that in general are very safe and do give very, very low reactions. This is the quality of these vaccines. This is why many scientists say that it is like passing from the candle to the lamp. We are having a new type of vaccine that gives you a different type of protection and also reactions. I would say that the documents that vaccinated people are signing refer to privacy. There is, I would say, no way that you can derogate from liability or I would say, other conditions that are in contracts through a small, through a paper that is signed. So these are the privacy documents that are in general signed. To Honourable Rivasi, I may say that it is important that we bear in mind that yes, the debate on the numbers is public. The debate should be public. We as Commission, we are trying to disclose what we can disclose with the approval of the companies. May I say to you that pricing has been an element that was very important from the start. We're talking about taxpayers' money, and it is extremely important that this element and that there is a fair pricing of the vaccines. Let us also remind ourselves of the issue of having vaccines as a common good, you know, where everybody will be given the possibility of vaccinating without having to pay. This is very important, that the vaccines are free. I would like to respond to the criticism on the reading room, which seems that really puzzles me. We are following all the provisions on confidentiality that are in the 2010 framework agreement on relations between the European Parliament and the European Commission. So let me say to you, the limit in members, in honourable members, I would say that it is MEPs. It's because in that agreement the preference goes to MEPs, and we have chosen that because there is a huge interest. You know, may I say to you, realistically, we will keep the room open, but I think it's very important that MEPs come in. If you want to have assistance, then you know the numbers will increase, because we don't want to put limitations, I would say, because of the interest. So on this, I may say I am a bit puzzled by this criticism. You will be able to see the contracts, and frankly, to the question that was put about the safety, we will make it certainly sure and safe. There will be disinfection. There will be a new copy of the contract each time. It's not that we are going to derogate to these fundamental criteria. Let me say we're still DG SANTE. And so at the end of the day, there is a certain pride in the line of trade that we are having here. On the, I would say, the monitoring of what is purchased, the deadlines, let me say again, the contract in the end has this order form that is the relationship between the member state and the company, but I am asking member states to report to us if there are problems with the deliveries. So, you know, we are really not necessarily going to avoid, if there is a problem, we will raise it with the companies. May I say that the companies are very constructive, and they have received my emails about the teething problems that I saw very constructively. So at the moment, I have no reason to complain for that. I would like to now go into this issue of the numbers, which puzzles me again, the debate on why didn't we buy more. We bought as much as was offered. Let me say to all of you that if you look at what is offered, it's offered on the basis also of a price and of a delivery. Buying many doses, and by the way, may I say to you, at the beginning of the negotiations, companies were talking about very late schedules. So if I may say to you, the whole importance of the negotiation was to have a quantity that was delivered starting with Q1, and also for some of the vaccines at the end of last year. As you saw with BioNTech, we had a schedule that included the last quarter of 2020. So it's not just quantities that you negotiate a specific quantity for that moment. So we have all the quantities that can be produced with the plants that are today, and we will have more quantities in the future. So this is, I am not sure why this debate is there, because the numbers are there, the production is ramping up. if I buy monopoly doses of paper doses, saying I bought billions of doses, but they are not delivered, what's the use? And by the way, there's also the issue of the price. I may say that in a pandemic is more the quality and the safety of the vaccine, but the price is also important because in the strategy, we have this element of having affordability of the vaccine for all the health systems in Europe. So this has been a true European effort not to leave any member state behind, to have, I would say, the possibility of buying vaccines. If I may recall for you what the member states were looking at, they were looking at a sound, I would say, scientific approach. So we were approaching the companies that the member states considered sound. They also wanted to have speed and scale. So it was companies that could produce at scale, but at speed also. I repeat, having quantities at the end of last year or at the beginning of this year was a very important factor. There was also the cost, as I said, the price. There was also this element of risk sharing. Let me say to you, when you will see in the contracts contain clauses which say if the vaccine is not successful, member states will not pay. So what was risked was the ESI money, but the member states were never under the constraint to buy a vaccine that was not successful. This is something very, very important for the taxpayers' money. I think also that we wanted to have different technologies. The member states opted for that vaccine, also knowing that we needed to have a vaccine that was, for instance, like the Ebola vaccine, the DNA vaccines that we have, Johnson & Johnson and AstraZeneca. We needed to have vaccines that were recombinant with an adjuvant like Sanofi and perhaps Novavax now. We needed to have mRNA. So let me say to you, it was not that we were just looking at buying vaccines. By the way, they didn't exist at the time. Finally, I want to make a strong point on, I would say, the global solidarity. We are all very much happy that Europe is getting the vaccines, and we are very keen on having our populations vaccinated. That is very important. But we also need to protect other countries. We need to help them. We need to help, for instance, the Western Balkans. We are not forgetting them. So let me say there is a global dimension in the vaccines that is very important for the Commission. There were no questions on this today, so I hope that in another meeting we will be able to speak about this. But really, let me thank you all for these questions. If there is still one burning issue that needs to be addressed, please. I take my responsibilities seriously, because you are, after all, the MEPs, and it's very, very important that you are well informed about what is happening. So I defer to Honourable Kamfan.
Thank you. So we were supposed to still have 10 minutes on our meeting schedule. So do you have these 10 minutes so that I can allow additional MEPs to ask questions, or do you have to leave now?
I mean, I take my responsibility. If you want to have more questions, I think it's important that you come first.
Okay,
and I hope this is appreciated, because I'm asking my assistant to change this meeting with some external stakeholders that we have.
Thank you for that. But just to be aware, I have more than 15 additional questions. So, of course, I will not be able to open the space to all of them, all of you as members, and I think you all understand that. So I will try to have in the remaining 10 minutes, 5 questions and 5 minutes to answer them. Let's start with the EPP, Miriam Spiraki.
Thank you very much for giving me the floor. I will be very, very brief, posing 2 questions. The first one, Mrs. Sandro Gallina, and thank you for your time, concerns the plan that we can potentially have in order to provide vaccination in the Western Balkans. It is important for my country, please, because as you know, we are in the neighborhood. And the second one is if our services, they are capable and authorized to check the real capacity of the production scale of the companies that we agreed for vaccination. Thank you very much once again for your time and your concrete answers.
Thank you. For S&D, Christelle Schaldemose.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Gallina, for giving us all these good answers. Now I will give you another one. I mean, looking retrospectively on this, is there anything that you think you could have done differently with the knowledge we have today? I'm considering, I mean, could we have had more openness around the decision-making process? Could we have been doing more about creating better capacity building for the manufacturing of the vaccines? And could we have done more in order to adjust the expectations from the citizens about the speediness of how we roll out these vaccines? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Nicolas Stefanetta for Renew.
Merci. Director Gallina, which is the calendar for payments and deliveries, and is this also contingent on the understanding between member states and producers, or only by the framework agreement? And this question comes because I think we need total and absolute transparency. This is public money, public rules need to apply. And one more question that hasn't been asked today: what is the plan for helping external countries such as the Republic of Moldova and others who look at us with great interest? European citizens complain about not having enough vaccines, but we are we are the leader in the world for making these advanced purchases agreements. Citizens outside the Union look at us with great want and desire. How can we help them?
Thank you. Jutta Paulus for the Greens.
Thank you very much, Madam Gallina, especially for staying longer than planned. I have two questions. Are you engaged in talks with the United Kingdom? Because UK is doing a rather dangerous strategy of vaccination, giving only one dose. And many scientists are very afraid that this may lead to a quick evolution of the virus, potentially endangering the efficacy of the vaccination, because the virus might become resistant against the vaccine through this evolutionary pressure. And secondly, it's very good news to hear that AstraZeneca may even get an application, an approval within this month. Do you have any information when the delivery could be administered? Because people in home care cannot be vaccinated with Pfizer-BioNTech unless you sacrifice a whole vial, because once diluted, the vial containing 6 or even 7 doses cannot be transported again. Thank you very much.
Thank you. For ECR, Joanna Komskińska.
Dziękuję Panie Przewodniczący. Pani Dyrektor, dziękuję za Pani zaangażowanie i pracę tak potrzebną w tym trudnym czasie. W kontekście pacjentów chciałam zapytać, jakie wytyczne przewiduje Komisja Europejska i jej agencje wykonawcze w celu zaproponowania wyprzedzających rozwiązań i odpowiedzi na zupełnie nowy problem, z jakim będziemy mieli do czynienia wkrótce, a mianowicie z zachorowaniami pacjentów na COVID-19 między podaniem pierwszej i drugiej dawki szczepionki. Czy Komisja zaproponuje przedstawienie jednoznacznej procedury co do tego, kiedy powinno nastąpić podanie drugiej dawki szczepionki w tak zaistniałych okolicznościach chorobowych i czy Komisja zamierza przedstawić dodatkowe procedury dotyczące szczególnie monitorowania pacjentów z rozwiniętą infekcją w okresie przejściowym pomiędzy podaniem szczepionek? Bardzo dziękuję.
Thank you very much. For the left, Mikolas.
Thanks very much, Pascal. And thanks very much, Madam Gallina, for your contribution, which has been very interesting. You've spoken a lot about transparency and how vital it is, and I think we all agree with that. Just for clarity, I mean, Hanno Kautz, the spokesperson for the German Health Ministry, confirmed at a press conference Friday that Germany will receive around 60 million vaccine doses from BioNTech from EU contracts, and 30 million from bilateral contracts or agreements. In total, 90 million this year. This, he said, is something we have done independently of the EU treaties. I'm just wondering, we do not think, if this is true, it does lead to frustrations in a country like Ireland, and I'm wondering, can someone like Ireland seek a side or unilateral deal now? And my final point, I'm just wondering what steps have the Commission taken to deal with any possible problems in relation to the possible lack of effectiveness of the vaccine against any of the new strains of the virus? Thanks.
Thank you. And the very last question from non-attached, Mr. Comyn.
Merci, Presidente Vraiment. Gracias, señora Gallina, por todo el trabajo que están haciendo. Muy brevemente, dos preguntas. Una, usted ha hecho referencia a las declaraciones de la presidenta de la Comisión diciendo que no hay margen para contratos bilaterales. Hay declaraciones públicas de responsables de autoridades de Estados miembros diciendo que están cerrando contratos bilaterales. Entiendo, por tanto, que la presidenta de la Comisión, la señora von der Leyen, está desautorizando estas autoridades nacionales. Y luego, usted ha dicho también, y lo repitió en muchas comparecencias previas, que ningún Estado tendrá que pagar por vacunas que finalmente no sean autorizadas, y lo celebramos. Pero también entendemos que ha habido ya desembolsos en muchas vacunas que todavía no están autorizadas. Si esto es cierto, si estoy en lo correcto, ¿qué pasa con estos desembolsos? Los desembolsos en relación con vacunas que finalmente no tendrán autorización. Las compañías lo van a devolver. No se han confirmado estos desembolsos. ¿Cuál es la solución para este tema? Muchas gracias.
Thank you. Sandro Gallina, your last words.
I hope they're not the last. You know?
For this session.
I'm still hoping to see you, Pascal. So many thanks for all these questions. Again, I would like to go through them. Let me pick up all my notes here. So very concretely, vaccination of our neighboring countries, of other countries in the world. Let me mention that the doses are the property of the member states. So what we are doing is we are coordinating what the member states really will decide to do, and they want to go for this international dimension. The international dimension is very important. So let me say to you, Greece for sure has already made very explicit the issue of, I would say, Western Balkans. So has Romania, that has made very explicit the issue of Moldova. And the doses that we will be able to give are the doses that the member states own, and they will put at the disposal of these countries. This process is taking shape. It's not easy because the doses are arriving now. So you first need to see that the doses are there before you can give them to other countries. So let me somehow also thank all the member states, because all of them are committed. So let me say what is important is not that just the countries that are next to these countries will be interested in the donation, but the whole of Europe will be participating in these, what I call them donation pots. And they will be of different nature in terms of different partners. This is very political, very important that you are present in this debate. Now, on the capacity was an element in the template that we sent for the tender invite. So it needs to be proven that the company has capacity to produce, and this needed to be proven before we established the contract. So capacity was one of the criteria for the decision of the member states. Then, Honorable Schallemorder, you say beautiful things. May I say all the three. We would have needed, I would say, capacity building before. Yes, we would have needed it. Perhaps we would have needed also not to have European talent migrate, if I may say so, in a very veiled way. We should have had openness, yes, because people, when they don't know, they are not particularly, I would say, interested, they just say no. So openness, yes. We also needed a more I would say a more open way to deal with the expectations. The expectations of people are also the consequence of perhaps information which is not correct. So let me say to you all the three of them retrospectively. And I have one acronym I want to share with you, HERA. That is what we need. We cannot have, I would say, a team of very devoted colleagues, and devoted as they are, just trying to do something that really requires a more structured approach with a different also liaison with the European Parliament. So definitely the three of them. Very good question from the colleague from Renew, from the honourable member of Renew Europe. I must say Moldova, yes. What you said there, it's interesting. It's very cold outside Europe in a sense. There isn't all that mass of vaccines, you know, there aren't those ample amounts of vaccines as we have. We have many vaccines here, and this should be borne in mind. What we have, to reply to your specific question in the contract, is a schedule per quarter. Schedule per quarter is a very long schedule. 3 months, many things can be moved from 1 month to the other. It is only when the companies go into, I would say, these order forms that they give member states more precise schedules. So if I may, if we were to have a successful authorization for the AstraZeneca contract, Honorable Paulos, we hope that 2 weeks after that authorization, AstraZeneca will be able to give the first delivery, and they are thinking of, I would say, 2 deliveries a month, but this is all in the making. They need to discuss this with the member states, and you know, this is the continuity there. You're asking me about the United Kingdom. We are taking note of what is happening there. We have all trust in the European Medicines Agency and in the authorization as it is given, with the time, with the doses, with the elements that are specified there. So it is extremely important that we in Europe stick to what is authorized and the way it is authorized. You made a very good point about the logistics of the AstraZeneca vaccine, and it's not the only vaccine that will be easy to transport. Johnson & Johnson, if it becomes true that they have one jab, it will also have the additional advantage that you will need to vaccinate the person once, which is also logistically a much better approach. Now, the honourable member of ECR was making a very good point about the reactions, the possible infection between the two, I would say, doses. All of this is also contained in the EPAR study. It is referred to. There is what we call pharmacovigilance in our jargon, which means that any event needs to be immediately reported by the member state to the European Medicines Agency. So let me say to you, it's not that the vaccine, you know, it is administered and the story finishes there. There is a monitoring, and this monitoring, in some respects, some member states are even adding or updating rather processes of monitoring that they had themselves. Honourable Wallace, you are really spot on. We hear all these announcements and we get very frustrated with these announcements. I have said what was said by my president, so let me say to you, we will get our doses. Our doses are in contracts with schedules, and they will come with those schedules. Any other doses will need to come later, because as I say, capacity is fully booked at the moment, and the vials, I always use this image of the name of the country on the vial. So they're fully booked. On the new strains, we are following them very attentively. I personally think that there is almost a competition between this virus and our vaccines. So it is extremely important that we vaccinate fast, because this will also stop this new variants in a sense. I'm not talking scientifically here, but you know, the proliferation of the variants is also due to the fact that we need to have more of the population covered by the vaccinations. But definitely, the ECDC is following all the variants. It also depends on the type of sequencing that is done, you know, by the member states, and we have recommended that they do the sequencing that allows us to see if at least the UK variant is present in other parts of Europe. So thank you for your very good questions. Finally, on the question of, I would say, the payments of ESI. Yes, in some contracts, we, I would say, succeeded in having a way of getting in full or in part the ESI money back, but that was never the objective. The objective, as you can see on the strategy, is to use this ESI money as a risk and to put and to take the risk on this money rather than on the member states, and to go and to have a down payment for those companies that seem promising, that have vaccines that seem promising. So I would say, if you ask scientists, this is a I would say such a mammoth task and such an important task to protect the whole of I would say the population, healthy population, that let me say the issue of having ESI partially refunded or not was not for the member states the important element. They agreed that this money could be risked, and it's contained in the agreement explicitly and in the strategy as it was agreed. So I hope I replied to all the questions, and I now will eject myself from this seat, and I hope these were not the last words.
To some extent, I hope so as well. So thank you for this lively hearing. Just regarding the possibility for the MEPs to be granted the reading room access for the contract, so it will start this afternoon. I will myself read the contract which is available this afternoon, and I refrain myself at that stage from commenting on what I'm going to see, if it's really transparent, or if we can access only partial element of the contracts. For instance, there was a question asking you if we are going to be able to see the liability clauses of the contracts, and you didn't answer that. So we will not enter into another debate here. It's way too late, but we will get organized as an NV together with the coordinators to have a joint approach of this access to the contract that is starting this afternoon. So thank you, Sandra, and good luck for the rest. I think you heard very well there are huge, overwhelming support to the European framework from this committee. It has been said from the very, very beginning, back to last summer. We will stay on that line, but at the same time, we want more transparency, we want more clarity on the questions we have, and you started providing this clarity and transparency, and as you said, part of the answers are also in the hands of the member states and in the hands of the companies themselves. So thank you. I think we can close this hearing, very useful, and just before closing the meeting as well, just very short reporting back on the trilogues. So we finally had a deal on the LIFE program before so the agreement will be confirmed on January 15th, and the agreement was found on December 17th. On the Union Civil Protection Mechanism, we are at least we are starting to work, and we had the first trilogue on December 10th. So I hope that we will be able, on this very important issue, including related to the discussion we just had, to have an agreement before the end of this month and as soon as possible. We had as well an agreement found on the EU for Health program, which is, as you know, a very, very significant step towards the starting of a Health Europe. We have been advocating for months and years now, so that's a very good deal. And regarding the climate law, we had another trilogue in December, and the Portuguese presidency clearly indicated to the negotiating team that they want to have a quick deal, and the team is working very hard to find this deal as soon as possible, because as you know, a lot of elements on the climate package will come soon in June, and we definitely need to have this climate law fully adopted and agreed in the coming months. Thank you again for this discussion this morning. There is no AOB, so I close this morning meeting.